Okay, for those of you who have this,
or who ordered it and are wondering where the heck it is, it's coming.
This is a mini folded corners ruler.
Folded corner clipper ruler.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Folded.
Simple folded corners. Whatever it is, it's mini folded corners, and that's all I have to remember. It's one that Jenny taught me. It's one of her favorites. Now it's one of my favorites. So
it's a really good ruler.
It's a really good ruler. This one's the mini. I know that it's from Doug. How do you say this?
Doug Lico.
Doug Lico. And there is a larger one, but we're not talking about the large one today. We're talking about the mini one today. So for those of you who own it and you've used it, let us know how you like it. And for those of you who don't and you're waiting for years to come, we're going to show you all kinds of things that you can do with it so you can be even more excited for when they get sent out. So, okay, yeah, Debbie got it and she's not sure how to use it. Great.
Carilisa's got like a whole slew of things.
Perfect.
This is why we didn't have any funnies, because she did the demo today.
I did. And I was losing track of time. I was having so much fun.
I know, it's kind of fun to sew at work, right?
Yeah. Okay. So over here,
how do you want that?
Basically, the whole point of using this is that instead of, I'll just use one of these. Okay, so you're gonna make a square. You're sewing along, singing a song, right? Is that what she says? You would normally, when you're going to put a little square in the top
Let's say
of
you're
the
making
square,
a flying gleese block,
right?
Flying gleese.
So when you have projects that need this kind of technique used, we're going to show you afterward all the different applications for it, but you have a couple different options in the way that you do it. A lot of us just fold and press.
On Friday we demoed the seam tape, which works as well.
Yeah.
That's another
Rebecca
option.
just turns it and goes this way. Well, and that's how I just had to do my last quilt I was working on because I couldn't find my ruler.
And I have a hard time sewing on straight lines. Like, so
yeah.
If normally you would draw like a pencil or whatever, edge to edge, and then sew on that line. Rebecca had the tape where you would run your corner and corner along that. I have a really hard time keeping things straight when I do that. So I like this ruler because
you don't have to worry about that.
I'm gonna let you take that over, but she's gonna show you why and how it's a little bit different from what you would normally.
Well, and just a little backup. I was making one of my first quilts and didn't know the tips and tricks on how to keep things nice, and I had a whole bunch of snowball blocks, and I went and asked Jenny tips and tricks, what to do, and she mentioned this, and I said, yeah, I'm pretty sure I can do it without paying for the ruler. Well, needless to say, I bought the ruler and I've never gone back. So it really, really is worth that little extra tool to have in your collection. So what you're gonna do, and the difference is, instead of having a line that you're trying to match up, instead of marking your blocks, all you're going to do is actually come up here, and I don't know if you guys can see that. I'm gonna just bring this a little closer, see if that helps.
Big old track hoe out there. It's making this whole warehouse shake.
Well, and now we have a glare, so let me see if that helped. Right here.
Oh, it's the light. There we go.
Okay. Nope. Perfect. So basically,
I'm trying to hold my hands over
the concept is, I'm just gonna do this.
It's still shiny.
Good grief. It's the light above us. We can't help it. Okay. So basically you're going to trim before you sew.
Let me just, 1 second. We're gonna you move it over to the solid line. You want it right there before you trim.
Right? What were you looking at that I was doing? You
had it over here. You actually need to add the seam allowance. So this dog ears your corners.
Right.
Okay, I was just putting you in the right place.
No, you're totally fine. And I had it in the wrong place. I was just gonna shift it, but you're good.
Okay,
you're good.
Sorry.
No, you're
good.
Like, don't cut it. There. Stop. Wait.
Yep.
Okay. So the markings on this ruler are going to show you where your little square is going to line up. So you have markings to show on both sides, and that's another thing I like about this one, is that it's not just in one place. You've got it on both sides. And you're gonna line this little line that you have on the edge here. You're gonna run that corner to corner. So it's kind of like that line is where your pencil would have been, and then you would have been sewing here, but we are actually not going to use any of that. And so we are cutting it before we sew. and then you discard that.
Or you can save this for teeny tiny half square triangles.
Because those are so much fun. I don't love them at all.
I save all mine, and she's like, you do?
You
Yes,
save
I do.
all your half square triangles? So we're going to talk about that on a whole other situation. Anyway, so now you have all your corner completely trimmed, but now instead of trying to find and guide a line, trying to find and sew along a line, you have an edge to put on your presser foot or whatever guide you're using without having to worry or guess, and you're more accurate this way.
And
so
you don't have to cut it later.
it saves a lot of steps, so you're not going behind and trying to cut the back two pieces.
It does 2 steps in one,
Yeah.
essentially.
It really does. So anyway, you're going to just, so in this particular case, then you're going to press that and come back and do the other one.
This is like if you were doing flying geese. So pretend you've sewn that edge.
Yep. I have
Then
one already
pretend
done.
this is straight.
And then pretend this is straight. So then I'm going to go ahead and just come through here and trim off
You're scaring
that.
me doing it that way.
This is not, this one is not perfectly straight, but I'm giving you the point here, right? So what I've done is created a whole bunch of options. So this is the finished one of what I was doing. So these were used in a lot of star blocks.
And if you look, she's got like a perfect 1/4 inch from there to there because she did it this way.
Yeah, it helps with your accuracy big time. Another application to use with that would be your, what do they call that anyway? The rectangle block.
Yeah, half a rectangle.
Cornered rectangles. So this is a block where you would use it for cornered rectangles. Are you keeping track of questions?
Chris said to not answer questions in the middle of the
Okay, we'll do it later. Okay, so you have your rectangle, you've got to put that square in the corner, same thing. And the thing, these are same concept. You're going to line this up.
So you do it different than me.
Do I?
Yeah, you run it on the wrong line. There you go. There we go. I mean, you don't, but it just freaks me out. I think just because you're offset.
I'm not over on this edge. I'm right in the middle, but I'm lining it up right here on the ruler and right here on the ruler. And then I want to make sure that that line is running from corner to corner because you're going to cut off from that 1/4 inch, right? Okay.
So cut it off. You're doing it cattywampus.
I'm totally doing this backwards and my ruler is shifting because I'm pressing too hard. Okay, put this away for your half square triangle project.
I keep these in like a box, and then I just they become my leaders and my enders when I'm
Oh yeah, yeah. And then here's on the finished one, you can see you are sewing from corner to corner, but now that step's taken care of for you and you're done. And I will press open and I will press to the side. It doesn't,
but look, it's perfect.
it just doesn't make any difference. And when you're done, you can also use this ruler to kind of do a little bit of your square up because it has the lines, depending on the size of your block, but it has lines going in both directions plus the angles here. So it has plenty of
We'll show you that one in a sec.
guidelines. Yeah. Which one?
The how to use it as the square up ruler.
Yeah. Do you want to do the next one?
You were supposed to do this one. This is the worst one.
Okay, I'll do
I'm
this
just
one.
let me do the binding one.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Nope.
So, I'm kind of lazy. I have a guide beam on my machine, so I just usually use the guide beam and sew corner to corner, but my binding is never perfect. And it should be, because it's not that hard. So, pretend you've got 2 binding strips.
Guess what I did? I cut this one for you.
You already cut it for me.
Ready. So just do it.
Okay, so what you would do, I should probably make sure that you can actually see what I'm doing here. You're going to stick it like that, and it's just like the other way you were doing it. And then you'll come here, find your solid line. You want to cut on the solid line. And then you'll just cut that off. This is a teeny tiny rotary cutter.
It is teeny.
Sew that from edge to edge, and then it'll flip, and you'll have perfectly lined up binding like this one.
I don't know what it is about the cutting off of it beforehand, but it helps with the shifting. And maybe it's because you have that better guide going along. I mean, you have that
There's
straight
less
edge,
stretch,
and
too.
so there's less stretch.
Your fabric doesn't pull because you're not trying to tuck these little tiny corners in as you're going.
Yeah, it just creates
But
more of that perfect.
My binding is always like cattywampus because I don't sew it straight. So I really need to slow down and do this correctly. But anyway, yeah, so Carilisa's got that right there. You'd cut it, sew running a 1/4 inch seam off of your edge there. Then when it's done,
Press
hold
that
it
over.
open, pretend I didn't cut that off, and you have perfect binding edges.
And it's also really handy.
This is vibrating so bad.
I know. Ooh, it really is. Is that, I hope that's not throwing everything off. Here's another square, right? You've got like little snowballs in each corner. It's a diamond, what do they call it? The diamond in a square?
I would just call this a snowball corner.
Yeah.
Diamond in a square would take up, it would be.
Well, it would be
perfect
more of a
square
diamond,
inside of it,
and I
yeah.
didn't do, I didn't do that. But anyway, same thing. You've got all your different little corners that you're working with. And I went ahead when I did this and line up your lines here. Go ahead and do your cut, but make sure your rotary is actually uncovered.
I kept it safe.
Thank you. I actually cut every single one of these just to make it fast and easy, so I only had to go to the machine for one thing.
See, and I would do one corner with all of my pieces. Cut, come back to the second corner.
That's definitely how I would do it if I was doing a whole bunch, but where I was just doing the one square. Yes, I don't know if that made sense, but I basically,
Like
if
Rebecca
you're gonna do a whole bunch of these, don't do these. Just do the one corner on every single and stack them. Yeah,
this one, and then when you've done all of those, do this one.
Yeah.
And so on and so forth.
yeah. But I do say that a lot when I go back to watch these things. Yeah. Anyway, that's just a few examples.
I'm very agreeable.
That's just a few examples of
This handy little ruler.
this handy little ruler.
One thing that we didn't show you, but I'm going to really quickly. Do a different
Easier on
color.
a different color.
You talk for 1 second.
Okay. Well, and so are there any questions? You're sewing a 1/4 inch after cutting.
Yes.
Yeah, so the line in the ruler will just match. Basically, it cuts a 1/4 inch off of the sewing line that you're supposed to be having. So you have to just put it against, it's bad, and you can't change it. So guess your 1/4 inch. That's not really how you want to do a 1/4 inch, but, and also this is a little bit more like a scant 1/4 inch when you go to trim it off. So you've got your sew line, and I don't know if it's because when you're doing a lot of those triangular pieces you have a little bit of stretch that goes on, but you end up with a faster process, I think, is probably a good way to go.
I couldn't get that machine to work. Okay.
So now
Let's just pretend.
we're gonna do a little bit more.
A little bit more. One other trick that I just actually learned about this ruler, which is great. It is smaller, but when I'm going to classes,
Do you want me to sew one?
no, I couldn't. I broke the thread.
Oh, okay.
So pretend there's a sewn line right there. Do you have a pencil?
Yes.
Ah.
In my hair.
Okay, so we're just going to pretend that I have sewn this 1/4. That didn't work. Anyway. Better marker. No, don't just draw on it. What are you doing?
I'm so far off too. Like I'm not even
I
close.
know, that's not even kind of a 1/4 inch. Okay.
And you wonder why my quilts are not. I'm
stop.
just kidding. I don't do that.
Okay, I'm going to use this so you can actually see a little better.
Okay.
You see my drawn line right there, which pretend it's sewn, okay? So if you've used the Quilt in a Day half square triangle ruler, this actually will do the same thing where you have these lines right here, just going down the corner. It'll go up to 3.5 inches. So you can square up to a 3.5 inch half square triangle. And you use it just like the Quilt in a Day ruler or the Tucker trimmer. You like the Tucker trimmer, I like Quilt in a Day. But you're going to line this up. Say I want a 2 inch finished. I'm gonna line up that right there on my sewn line. And, oh, I don't like this.
No, I don't either. It's not, the ruler's a little too wide for it.
And then I will just dog ear my corners.
You know, anytime you can get more out of one ruler,
Yeah.
It's wonderful, right?
And then you have if it was sewn, you would have had a perfect 2-inch finished square.